The stale scent of instant coffee and desperation clung to Jade's dorm room. Outside, the cacophony of late-night college life, blaring music, drunken laughter, the distant wail of an ambulance, was a dull throb against her skull. Inside, silence stretched, punctuated only by the hum of her aging laptop and the relentless ticking of a mental clock counting down to her next tuition payment. Jade, a physics prodigy with a scholarship that barely covered textbooks, was brilliant but broke. More crushingly, she was bored. Bored with the endless equations that felt like old friends, bored with the vapid small talk of her peers, bored with the suffocating predictability of it all. Loneliness was a cold knot in her stomach, a constant companion that even her frantic intellectual pursuits couldn't dislodge. Tonight, the boredom had reached critical mass. She'd exhausted every online rabbit hole, every obscure theory, every academic paper. Her fingers, restless, had idly typed sugar baby profile into the search bar. Not seriously, of course. It was just a concept, a sociological experiment, a fantasy she could construct and then, presumably, dismantle. She spent an hour crafting the profile, weaving a narrative that was half-truth, half-aspirational fiction. She described herself as curious, unconventional, seeking intellectual stimulation, and a generous patron who appreciates the finer things in life beyond material wealth. She added a blurry photo, cropped just enough to be intriguing without being identifiable, taken on a rare evening out when she'd felt almost pretty. It was, she told herself, an elaborate thought experiment, a game. She didn't expect anyone to reply. Who would want a broke, brilliant, perpetually bored college student whose idea of fun was debating quantum mechanics? The screen glowed, a silent testament to her folly. She was just about to close the tab, dismiss the entire escapade as a pathetic cry for diversion, when a notification pinged. "You have one new message." Her heart gave a startled thump. Disbelief warred with a prickle of morbid curiosity. She clicked. The sender's profile was minimalist. A single, artfully shot black and white photo of a woman's hand, adorned with a severe silver ring resting on a leather-bound book. No age, no location, just a name, Vera. And then the message, elegant, direct, dangerous. "You look like trouble. I'm in the mood for trouble." Jade stared at the screen, a bizarre mix of thrill and apprehension washing over her. It wasn't a generic, "Hey, sexy," or a proposition. It was a challenge, and it was from a woman. A woman. Her mind, usually so sharp, stuttered. She reread the message. The words seemed to coil off the screen, smoky and seductive. Trouble! It wasn't accusatory, it was invitational, a dark, sophisticated dare. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Every sensible bone in her body screamed delete. This was exactly the kind of illicit, complicated situation her life did not need. She was already balancing on a financial tightrope, already feeling overwhelmed. Adding a mysterious, potentially dangerous sugar mommy into the mix. Madness. But the boredom, and the loneliness, and the startling novelty of it all. Her brilliant mind, usually so logical, found itself captivated by the sheer audacity of the message. This wasn't some desperate, lonely soul. This was someone confident, powerful, and utterly unafraid to state their desires. Someone, perhaps, as bored as she was. A slow, unbidden smile touched Jade's lips. It was a dangerous smile, one she rarely allowed herself. Her fingers moved, faster than her conscious thought could veto. "Only if you are too," she typed, her challenge echoing Vera's own. The reply was instantaneous. "Oh, I assure you I am." A second message followed immediately. "Tell me about yourself, Jade. The parts no one else sees." The hum of the laptop seemed to grow louder, drowning out the distant college chaos. Jade leaned back, a strange, exhilarating current coursing through her. This wasn't just a fantasy anymore. This was a door, creaking open, into a world she never knew existed. And the woman on the other side was pulling her in, one elegant, dangerous word at a time. Vera waited exactly 2 days before messaging again. Not in desperation, not to chase. Just enough time to let anticipation simmer into curiosity, and curiosity into hunger. The message was short. Friday, 7 p.m., the Red Orchid Lounge, table 17, where something that makes you feel expensive. No emoji, no questions, just instructions. I stared at the message, rereading it until the words burned into my retinas. I didn't know what something expensive felt like. My wardrobe consisted of ripped jeans, faded hoodies, and whatever passed as thrifted chic. But I knew what she meant. Confidence, intention, seduction. So Friday came, and so did I. The Red Orchid Lounge wasn't the kind of place college students stumbled into. It had dim lighting, velvet booths, and bartenders who didn't ask twice when you said something neat. The kind of place where women like Vera belonged, and girls like me pretended to. Table 17 was in the back, semi-private. One candle, 2 crystal glasses, and her. Vera didn't stand when I approached. She just watched me, like a panther in silk. Her suit was tailored so perfectly, it had to be custom. Charcoal gray, soft as smoke, with a deep wine-colored shirt underneath that made her skin glow like warm marble. She looked me over, not in the leering way I was used to. No, this was assessment. Not what do I want to do to her, but what will she give me and how much will it cost her? And I felt it. Every inch of me seen, measured, catalogued. I liked it more than I should have. "You're on time," she said. Her voice was lower than I imagined. Precise, calm, like velvet that could cut you open if you leaned too hard. I nodded, sat. "Do you know why you're here?" "A test, the first one. I could feel it in my teeth." "I assume this is the interview." She smiled, just slightly. "Correct, this isn't a date. This isn't dinner. This is negotiation. You're not here to be seduced, Jade. You're here to be selected." My heart kicked hard, but I held her gaze. "Are you always this formal?" "Only with things worth investing in." What followed wasn't flirting. It was an exchange of terms. 1 evening per week minimum. No sleepovers unless invited. Silence about the arrangement, even to friends. Gifts were earned, not expected. And there would be rules, behavioral, physical, emotional. "I'm not interested in empty affection," she said. "I don't want a child to take care of. I want a woman I can mold." I don't know what twisted part of me wanted to kneel right then. Not out of weakness, but out of challenge. Out of that growing, molten ache in my chest, the one that whispered, "Let her try." At the end of the interview, she handed me a small, matte black envelope. Inside, a card with nothing but her initials embossed in silver foil, and the keycard to a suite at the Hotel Renata. No instructions, no promises, just potential. "If you accept, come tomorrow. 8 p.m., no questions, no second chances." Back in my dorm, the envelope burned against my skin like a brand. What she was offering wasn't sex. It was submission, not as weakness but as currency. She wanted my attention, my time, my obedience, and in return, she'd make me feel something more than smart, more than bored, something rare. I stared at the keycard in the half-light and whispered to no one. "Mold me then." The keycard clicked. Not loudly, but enough to feel final. The suite smelled like expensive perfume and fresh linen. Clean, minimal, just like her. Vera stood by the window, backlit by city lights, a glass of red wine in one hand. She didn't turn when I entered. She didn't have to. "Take your shoes off," she said softly. I hesitated, just for a second, then obeyed. "Come here." I crossed the room slowly, heart in my throat. She still hadn't looked at me, not really, but I could feel her attention like a hand already on my skin. When I reached her, she turned. Her eyes scanned me the way a sculptor might assess a block of marble, not with lust, with intention. "You came, good." She handed me the glass of wine. I took it. "Tonight isn't about sex," she said. "It's about understanding the shape of what this will be." I nodded, throat dry. "You'll listen, you'll answer when I ask, and when I give you something, pleasure, gifts, attention, you'll accept it with gratitude." She pulled a thin, black folder from the table. Inside, The agreement. Not legalese, not binding, just typed rules in elegant serif font. 1 evening per week, minimum. No emotional outbursts. No speaking of the arrangement to others. When given a gift, respond with action, not words. Safe word, Violet. She slid a pen across the table. Her expression didn't change. You can leave at any time. You always have that power. I picked up the pen. But if I sign? If you sign, I own your attention. Not your body, not your heart, just your focus. While you're with me, you're mine. After I signed, she walked to a drawer and returned with a small velvet box. Inside, a simple choker. Black velvet, silver clasp. Wear it when you see me, and only when you see me. She fastened it herself. Her fingers brushing the back of my neck made me shiver harder than any kiss I'd ever known. Then she stepped in close. Her voice dropped. You will call me Vera unless I tell you otherwise. You will not touch me without permission. And if you please me, I will make you feel things no textbook ever could. Her hand grazed my jaw, barely, but my knees weakened all the same. Do you understand? I whispered, yes. Say it like you mean it. Yes, Vera. That night, she didn't kiss me. She didn't touch me beyond the collar. And yet, I left her sweet trembling. Because she didn't need to claim my body to own something deeper. She had my obedience. And, terrifyingly, I wanted to give it. Vera didn't ask if I wanted to go shopping. She told me to meet her. 11 a.m. sharp, Delacroix Boutique, wear nothing under your coat. And just like that, I was in a private suite on the second floor of the most exclusive fashion house I'd ever seen, standing in front of 3 racks of clothing I couldn't pronounce, with a sales associate who smiled like she knew exactly what kind of girl I was. Vera leaned back on a velvet chaise, legs crossed. Sipping espresso like this was just another Wednesday. Start with the black slip, she said, without looking up. Let me see how it fits. I hesitated, just long enough. Her gaze flicked to mine, sharp, inescapable. You don't get to hide from me, Jade. Not in silk, not in truth, especially not in rules. I swallowed, turned away from her slowly. The room was mirrored, every side of me visible, even the parts I usually ignored. Sliding off my coat, I heard the fabric hit the floor like a challenge. I stepped into the black slip, cool against my bare skin, barely there at all. Face me. Her voice low, calm, but absolute. I turned. Vera's eyes dragged over me like warm metal. Slow, thorough, unapologetic. You're not used to being looked at like you belong to someone, are you? My breath caught. No, I whispered. Good, you'll learn. She didn't touch me, not once, she didn't need to. Her gaze alone felt like pressure, like a hand on my lower back guiding me forward, like fingers under my chin holding me in place. Now the burgundy set, she said. And lose the hesitation. I moved faster. Each outfit she chose was more revealing, more deliberate. Red lace, sheer panels, a suit jacket with nothing underneath. Every time I emerged from the dressing corner, she watched like she was building something. Or someone. This is about posture, she murmured once. About presence. I'm not buying you things. I'm dressing what belongs to me. My knees nearly gave out. She stood finally and walked over, adjusting a collar here, a hem there. Her fingers brushed the inside of my wrist. Featherlight, intentional. I don't care how the world sees you, Jade, she said softly, adjusting the choker she'd chosen for me. I care how I see you. And right now, you're starting to look exactly like mine. By the time I stepped back into the daylight, arms full of luxury and skin still buzzing, I knew 2 things for sure. Nothing I wore would ever be just clothing again. When Vera dressed me, it wasn't about fashion. It was about possession. And I wasn't sure I wanted to take that feeling off. The The chandelier above glittered like a frozen rain of diamonds, casting a warm, buttery light over the polished mahogany and crisp white linens of the obsidian palm. The air hummed with hushed conversations and the clinking of delicate silverware, the scent of truffle oil and aged wine mingling in a rich, intoxicating perfume. It was a world away from the grimy alleyways and desperate whispers Vera had known, and a stark, almost cruel contrast to the secret Jade held beneath her heavy cashmere coat. "Cold," Vera murmured, her voice a low purr that barely carried across the intimate distance of their table. Her eyes, however, spoke volumes. They tracked Jade, devouring her as if she were the most exquisite dish on the menu. Jade shivered, though not from the chill. The elegant coat, Vera had insisted, was for the initial entrance a necessary disguise. Underneath, a whisper of fabric clung to her, a dress so daring it felt like a second skin, cut impossibly low and designed to reveal far more than it concealed. Every brush of the coat against her felt like a public secret, broadcasting the scandalous truth of her attire to the hushed room. She felt exposed, vulnerable, entirely at Vera's mercy. "Just right," Jade lied, her voice a little thin. She met Vera's gaze, a challenging flicker in her own, but it was quickly extinguished under the older woman's relentless scrutiny. Vera smiled, a slow, sensual curve of her lips. She picked up a succulent piece of seared scallops with her fork, the rich aroma wafting across the table. Her eyes never left Jade's as she slowly, deliberately, extended the fork across the pristine white cloth. "Open." Jade's breath hitched. This wasn't just a gesture of care, it was an act of profound, public possessiveness. She imagined the other diners, elegant shadows in their peripheral vision, wondering at the intimate tableau. But Vera didn't care. Vera wanted them to see. She wanted Jade to feel it. Reluctantly, Jade parted her lips. The scallop was tender, sweet, and melted on her tongue, but the taste was secondary to the strange cocktail of humiliation and a twisted thrill that coiled in her stomach. Vera's thumb, cool and deliberate, brushed against the corner of Jade's mouth as she withdrew the fork, wiping away an invisible residue. The touch was fleeting, yet electrifying, a silent confirmation of ownership. "Good girl," Vera murmured, her eyes dark pools of pleasure, reflecting the flickering candlelight. "You're learning to trust me, aren't you?" Just then, a figure materialized beside their table. "Everything to your liking, ladies." The waiter, a young man with a charming, easy smile and eyes a shade too bright, leaned in a little closer than necessary. His gaze lingered on Jade, not quite lascivious, but definitely admiring. He seemed to take in the tantalizing hint of what lay beneath the coat, the way it draped tantalizingly over Jade's shoulders and the subtle swell of her chest as she breathed. Jade offered a polite, somewhat strained smile. "Yes, thank you." "Perfect," he said, his smile widening, a dimple appearing in his cheek. He paused, as if reluctant to leave. "Anything else I can get for you, madame?" His voice dropped slightly on the last word, and his eyes met Jade's for a fraction too long, a silent invitation in their depths. The air around Vera changed. It wasn't a sudden storm, but a quiet, chilling drop in temperature. Her movements became imperceptibly stiller, her body language shifting from relaxed contentment to coiled tension. The predatory gleam in her eyes intensified, no longer focused on Jade with pleasure, but with a cold, protective fire. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't even turn her head fully towards the waiter. Her gaze remained locked on him, unwavering, as if assessing a flaw in a piece of fine art. The smile on her face, which had been so warm and indulgent for Jade, tightened, becoming less a smile and more a baring of teeth. "We require nothing else," Vera said, her voice dropping to a silken whisper that was far more menacing than any shout. The words were simple, yet laced with an undeniable edge. "Unless you were planning to offer us a more exclusive service, one not typically found on the menu." The subtle implication hung in the air, a veiled threat that was both chilling and disarming. The waiter's charming smile faltered. He straightened up, a flicker of unease passing through his eyes as he finally registered the unspoken warning in Vera's rigid posture, the possessive glint in her gaze. He had misread the room and the woman. "Of course, madame," he stammered, his cheeks flushing slightly. He backed away, his casual charm evaporating, replaced by a forced professionalism. "My apologies, I'll just inform the kitchen." He practically scuttled away, leaving a sudden, awkward silence in their wake. Jade watched him go, then turned to Vera, a mix of fear and a strange, hot surge of fascination churning within her. Vera hadn't moved. Her eyes were still fixed on the disappearing waiter, narrowed to dangerous slits, her jaw subtly clenched. The air around her crackled with a silent, concentrated fury, a territorial darkness that made the diamonds above seem dull. Slowly, Vera turned her gaze back to Jade. The quiet storm in her eyes didn't dissipate, it merely refocused, settling possessively back on her. "Some people," Vera purred, her voice a low, dangerous rumble, "don't understand what's truly off-limits." She reached across the table, her fingers closing over Jade's wrist, her grip surprisingly strong. "But we do, don't we, darling?" It wasn't a question. It was a statement of profound, unwavering possession, a chilling promise whispered in the heart of a luxurious restaurant. The polished steel doors of the elevator whispered open, revealing not a sterile hallway, but a vast, silent expanse of glass and art. Jade stepped out, her breath catching in her throat, into Vera's penthouse for the very first time. The air was cool, scented faintly with something expensive and clean, and the city lights twinkled like spilled jewels beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. It was overwhelming, a stark contrast to her own modest apartment, a world away from the controlled chaos of Vera's office. Vera stood by a minimalist bar, a half-empty glass of amber liquid in her hand, her silhouette framed by the glittering skyline. She didn't turn immediately, letting the silence stretch, letting Jade absorb the magnitude of the space of her. When she finally turned, her eyes, usually so sharp and appraising, held an unreadable quality. "Welcome, little one," Vera said, her voice a low purr that seemed to vibrate through the luxurious quiet. "Make yourself comfortable." Jade shifted, unsure where to look, where to sit. She remained standing, her hands clasped nervously in front of her. Vera's lips curved into a faint, knowing smile. "No, not like that. Comfortable for me." She gestured with her glass towards the plush, low-slung sofa that dominated the living area. "And then, comfortable for you." Her gaze dropped, lingering briefly on Jade's outfit. "Perhaps start by shedding those layers. We're in private, after all." A flush spread across Jade's cheeks. The command was soft, almost conversational, yet it resonated with an iron certainty. She swallowed, her heart beginning to pound a frantic rhythm against her ribs. Slowly, she began to unbutton her blouse, her fingers clumsy. The act felt impossibly intimate in this grand, silent space, under Vera's unwavering gaze. Her blouse was followed by her skirt, then her bra, each item shed a layer of personal armor. When she stood before Vera, clad only in her small lace knickers, a shiver traced down her spine, part chill from the cool air, part sheer vulnerability. Vera watched, unmoving, her expression still unreadable. "Good," she murmured, her eyes now fixed on Jade. "Now come here." Jade moved, her bare feet silent on the polished floor, stopping a few paces from Vera. "Closer." She took another step. "Now kneel, and don't speak. Not a sound, little one, until I tell you to." Jade's knees met the cool, smooth stone with a soft thud. The position felt instantly subservient, exposing her neck, her chest, forcing her gaze upwards, though she found she couldn't meet Vera's eyes directly. She focused instead on the hem of Vera's silk robe, on the elegant arch of her bare foot. Her mouth felt suddenly dry, and she pressed her lips together, biting back the questions, the pleas, the sheer overwhelming sensation of being utterly at Vera's mercy. Vera set her glass down with a delicate click. She walked slowly, deliberately around Jade, circling her, examining her from every angle. The air crackled with unspoken tension. Jade could feel Vera's presence, the warmth radiating from her, even before the first touch. A hand, cool and slender, finally rested on her shoulder, featherlight. It traced the curve of her neck down her collarbone, causing goosebumps to erupt on Jade's skin. Vera's fingers dipped just inside the lace edge of her knickers, teasing the delicate skin of her hip. Jade's breath hitched, a silent, involuntary gasp. Vera's touch was exquisitely precise, almost scientific in its exploration. A thumb brushed over her hardened nipple, lingered, then moved on, trailing fire. Vera knelt, bringing their faces level, her expression now a subtle mixture of amusement and fierce intent. Her eyes, dark and knowing, held Jade captive. Her fingers delved lower, slipping past the lace barrier, finding the hot, slick core of Jade's desire. She circled, stroked, teased, never quite giving enough, always promising more. Jade convulsed silently, her vision blurring, every nerve ending alive and screaming. The pleasure built an unbearable, exquisite pressure, pushing her to the brink. She arched her back, a soft whimper vibrating in her throat, desperate for release. Vera's hand stilled. The touch, so intoxicating, vanished as swiftly as it had appeared. Jade's eyes flew open, wide with shock and a sudden, sharp ache of disappointment. She stared up at Vera, confused, utterly raw. Vera leaned in, her voice a low, steady whisper by Jade's ear, the words a cool balm on her burning skin, yet cutting deeper than any blade. "You haven't earned it yet, little one." The lines weren't just blurring, they were dissolving, bleeding into each other like watercolors on wet paper. Jade found herself constantly sifting through their interactions, a desperate archivist trying to categorize what was real and what was merely part of the monthly retainer. Was Vera's knowing smile real? Was the way she sometimes reached out to steady Jade's elbow a genuine gesture of care, or a practiced motion perfected over years of managing delicate assets? The allowance, once a clear boundary, now felt like a constant whisper of doubt. Every shared laugh, every quiet moment of companionable silence, was tainted by the knowledge that this entire relationship could be switched off with a word or a missed payment. It was insidious, this uncertainty. It had begun to hollow her out, leaving her perpetually on edge, trying to decipher the true meaning behind Vera's increasingly enigmatic behavior. Vera, for her part, had become more emotionally distant than ever. Her gaze, often direct and penetrating, seemed to slide over Jade more frequently now, focused on her phone or a distant thought. Conversations were briefer, punctuated by long silences where Jade felt the weight of unspoken things. Yet, in the midst of this growing chasm, Vera would offer fleeting, almost cruel moments of intense attention. She'd remember Jade's obscure preference for a specific type of herbal tea, or notice the slight tremor in Jade's hand when she was stressed, offering a quiet, unasked-for comfort, like pushing a glass of water closer. One evening, after a particularly draining day of tutoring, Vera had rubbed a tired knot from Jade's neck for a moment too long, her touch lingering, sending a jolt that left Jade breathless and thoroughly confused. Was this a boss comforting an employee, or something else entirely? It was in her advanced history seminar, the droning lecture on post-war economic development blurring into a forgettable hum, that the real shift happened. Jade was sketching idly in her notebook, mind miles away, still replaying the neck rub, when her phone vibrated silently on the desk beside her textbook. A notification from Vera. Her breath hitched. Vera rarely texted during the day, especially not during class. Their communication was usually scheduled, direct, and about their arrangement or an M&A deal. Jade's heart thudded against her ribs, a frantic hummingbird. She risked a quick glance. "Vera, don't let the economic theory get to you. You've got a good head for this stuff. And that history paper, you'll nail it." The text was so innocuous, so normal. And yet, it wasn't. It mentioned her history paper, something they'd barely discussed beyond a passing mention. It implied encouragement, belief in her abilities. It was personal, intimate, and entirely out of character for the emotionally distant Vera she'd been experiencing. Jade felt a tidal wave of conflicting emotions crash over her. Confusion, hot and sharp, mingled with a desperate, aching need that coiled low in her stomach. Why now? Why this when Vera felt so far away? Was this another carefully calculated payment, a subtle manipulation to keep her compliant? Or was it real? Was this Vera seeing her, truly acknowledging her struggles, offering genuine support? Her hand trembled as she slid the phone back under her textbook. The lecturer's voice faded entirely. The room spun around her, a kaleidoscope of questions. The lines weren't just blurred, they were gone, erased. And in their place, a terrifying void of uncertainty and an overwhelming, undeniable yearning for the woman who had just shattered her fragile composure with a few simple words. She wanted to scream, to cry, to run to Vera and demand answers. But all she could do was sit there, paralyzed, a silent scream building in her chest, caught in the terrifying, intoxicating trap of her own spiraling need and confusion. Jade stared at the small, velvet box nested on her threadbare welcome mat, an alien artifact against the chipped paint and scuff marks of her apartment door. Her name, etched in elegant script, was the only thing distinguishing it from a package meant for someone else, someone with a life less defined by instant noodles and overdue bills. She picked it up, her fingers trembling slightly. Inside, nestled on a silken cushion, glinted the sapphire bracelet. The same one Vera had fastened around her wrist with a lingering touch that night, a touch Jade had tried to erase from her memory. A phantom weight settled on her arm as she remembered the feel of the cool metal, the startling brilliance of the stones. It wasn't just a bracelet. It was a symbol, a gilded cage, a promise and a threat all tied into one exquisite piece of jewelry. Underneath it lay the note, Vera's familiar, precise handwriting. "You left your bracelet. That doesn't mean I'm done with you." Jade's breath hitched. Anger, hot and sharp, flared in her chest. Done with her? As if she were a project, a phase, a temporary obsession. Her bracelet. Vera had given it to her. It was a declaration of ownership, a subtle, chilling reminder that Vera knew exactly where she was, what she'd left behind, and what she hadn't. She clutched the box, the sapphire edges digging into her palm. Her apartment suddenly felt smaller, the air stale with the scent of cheap ramen and unspoken anxieties. She'd ghosted Vera for a reason. Fear, yes. Fear of being consumed, of being another fleeting interest in Vera's glittering, high-stakes world. But also fear of the dizzying, intoxicating pull Vera exerted, a gravitational force that had threatened to pull Jade out of her own orbit entirely. Better to cut ties cleanly, she'd thought, even if it meant tearing a piece of herself away in the process. Now that clean break felt like a myth. Vera hadn't just reached across the chasm Jade had created. She'd flung a lifeline, or perhaps a noose, and Jade was staring at it, her stomach growling in protest. The scholarship, the gaping hole it left in her future, the swift, brutal descent back into the kind of poverty she'd fought so hard to escape. Ramen for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The gnawing ache of hunger that no amount of pride could silence. The isolation that had grown heavier with each unanswered text and ignored call from her few friends, embarrassed to admit her new reality. She walked to her cramped kitchen counter, the box still in her hand. A half-eaten cup of instant noodles sat beside an open textbook. The contrast was obscene. A single sapphire from that bracelet probably cost more than she had in her bank account right now. "You left your bracelet." It was a statement of fact, but layered with so many implications. "I know where you live. I know what you wore. I know you left something of yourself with me, and I'm not letting it go." Was it an invitation? A warning? Or just Vera asserting her undeniable presence in Jade's life, refusing to be forgotten? Jade traced the etched letters on the note with a thumb. Her initial surge of indignation began to falter, replaced by a cold, insidious dread, and something else, something shameful. A tiny flicker of desperate hope. Vera had found her. Vera still cared enough or was possessive enough to send this. The note didn't say, "I miss you." It didn't say, "Please come back." It said, "I'm not done with you." And in Jade's current, desperate state that felt as much like a solution as it did a threat. She looked at the bracelet, its sapphires gleaming, and wondered what Vera wanted her to do with it. What could she do with it? Throw it away? Or, God forbid, put it back on? The thought sent a shiver down her spine that had little to do with the chill in her apartment. The wind whipped Jade's cloak around her, a stark contrast to the quiet, determined control that had settled deep in her bones. She stood on Vera's doorstep, not with the hesitant knock of a lost girl, but with the steady, ringing rap of a woman who knew exactly what she sought. This time, there would be no polite deferrals, no gentle redirection. Vera opened the door, her expression initially one of surprise, then a flicker of something unreadable, perhaps caution, perhaps dread. "Jade," she said, her voice softer than Jade remembered, but Jade heard the underlying reserve. "Do Jade me," Jade cut her off, stepping inside without invitation. Her eyes, once wide and trusting, now held the sharp glint of honed steel. "I'm not here for your wisdom, Vera. I'm here for answers, and I'm not leaving until I get them." Vera's jaw tightened. "I don't know what you're talking about." The old Vera, the unyielding Vera, was trying to reassert herself. Do you truly believe I wouldn't figure it out? The whispers, the omissions, the convenient accidents that always seemed to protect me, even when I didn't know I needed protecting." Jade's voice was low, but each word was a hammer blow. "You knew, didn't you? You always knew." Vera's face was a mask of strained composure. "Knew what exactly?" Her voice was laced with a dangerous edge, a warning, but Jade ignored it. "Everything," Jade spat, stepping closer until only a breath separated them. Her gaze bore into Vera, stripping away the layers of carefully constructed indifference. "My heritage, my powers, why I was left with the coven, why you were always watching. You played the distant mentor, the detached benefactor, but you manipulated every damn thing around me. Why? Why keep me in the dark? Why let me flounder when you held all the truths?" Vera recoiled, a subtle, almost imperceptible flinch. "I was protecting you." The old excuse, worn thin. "Protecting me, or protecting yourself from having to care?" Jade's voice rose, raw with years of buried hurt. "You watched me struggle, Vera. You let me believe I was alone when all along you were pulling the strings, a silent puppet master. What was I to you? An experiment, a burden." The air in the room crackled, thick with unspoken accusations and long-held secrets. Vera's usual calm had fractured, her eyes darting away for a brief, telling moment before locking back onto Jade's. The power dynamic had undeniably shifted. Jade, no longer the vulnerable seeker, stood as the accuser, the judge. Vera, for the first time, seemed truly cornered. A tremor went through Vera's body, so slight it might have been missed by anyone else. But Jade saw it. She saw the iron facade crack, saw something break deep within Vera's resolute gaze. Her voice, when it came, was a harsh whisper, stripped of its usual authority, raw with an unexpected vulnerability. "I didn't want to feel something for you," Vera confessed, the words tearing free like a confession from a wounded animal. Her eyes, usually so sharp and knowing, were suddenly clouded with a pain Jade had never imagined possible. "I built walls for a reason." The air left Jade's lungs in a silent gasp. The anger, the accusation, the years of bitter resentment all collapsed in the face of Vera's stunning admission. It wasn't a denial, not an excuse, but a truth that resonated with a desperate, self-inflicted pain. Vera, the unshakable, the impenetrable, had been afraid of her. Jade's fury, which had fueled her journey, suddenly deflated, replaced by an aching, profound understanding. She saw not the manipulator, but the woman beneath, burdened by a past that had taught her to fear attachment, to defend against every crack in her armor. The walls weren't just around her, they were her. A single tear tracked a path down Vera's cheek, an impossible sight. It wasn't a tear of weakness, but of absolute, unvarnished truth. Jade closed the remaining distance, not with a strike, but with a desperate, yearning pull. Her hands found Vera's face, cupping her jaw, her thumb brushing away that unprecedented tear. Vera's eyes, wide and startled, met hers, filled with a mixture of shock and a desperate, burgeoning hope. Then there was no more space, no more air, no more words. Their lips met, raw and messy, a collision of pent-up emotion. It wasn't gentle, wasn't tender, but a desperate, consuming surge. Vera's arms, which had been stiff by her sides, flew up, encircling Jade's waist, pulling her impossibly closer. Jade's fingers tangled in Vera's hair, holding her captive, demanding everything. It was a kiss born of years of unspoken longing, of fierce protectiveness and aching neglect, of betrayal and forgiveness, of two souls finally admitting their profound, undeniable connection. It was everything that had been held back, finally, violently, beautifully unleashed. The parchment lay in fragments on the polished mahogany. It had been a formal thing, crisp and precise, outlining boundaries, expectations, and the carefully calibrated power dynamics. For 3 years, it had been their world. Now it was just expensive litter. Vera had been the one to tear it, her face unreadable, her gaze a distant storm. "It's over, Jade," she'd said, her voice flat, devoid of the thrilling command Jade had grown to crave. "The arrangement has run its course." Jade had nodded, a hollowness in her chest where devotion used to reside, a cold ache where submission had been a warm, comforting blanket. She left without another word, the silence in the grand house deafening. Months blurred. Jade found new routines, new spaces. She dated briefly, but the connections felt flimsy, lacking the profound depth and unwavering structure Vera had provided. She missed the firm hand, the knowing gaze, the quiet understanding that had hummed beneath the formal terms of their agreement. She missed being hers. Vera, she imagined, was thriving. Vera was a force, always moving forward, always in control. Vera didn't look back. Or so Jade thought. The message was succinct, a single line on her encrypted device. Same place. Tuesday, 8. Jade's breath hitched. The same place was a quiet, unassuming bar in the city's oldest district, tucked away behind a bookstore. It had been where they'd first met, where the contract had been implicitly drafted in unspoken glances and charged silences. She arrived early, heart thrumming against her ribs. The air was thick with the scent of aged wood and whiskey. She chose their usual booth, hidden in a velvet-lined alcove, and ordered a neat scotch she didn't touch. Vera walked in precisely at 8. She looked softer, less severe. Her tailored suit jacket was unbuttoned, her hair artfully disheveled, a hint of vulnerability in her usually impenetrable eyes. She met Jade's gaze across the room, and for the first time since the tearing of the contract, the wall around Vera seemed to crack. She slid into the booth opposite Jade. No pleasantries, no awkward small talk. The space between them hummed with unspoken history. "You came," Vera said, her voice a low murmur, like the turning of a forgotten page. "Did you think I would?" Jade countered, her own voice steadier than she felt. Vera didn't answer. Her eyes searched Jade's face, a silent question passing between them. Was it regret, longing, or just curiosity? The waitress came, took Vera's order, and left them in their cocoon of quiet. The jazz from the corner speaker was a gentle pulse. Jade couldn't stand the space anymore. The rules were gone. The contract was shredded. All that remained was the undeniable, suffocating force of their connection. Slowly, deliberately, Jade reached across the small table. Her fingers brushed Vera's, cool and hesitant, then firmer. She took Vera's hand, lacing their fingers together. It wasn't a submissive gesture. It was an anchoring, a claiming of a new territory. Vera flinched, a subtle tremor running through her. Her breath hitched. Her gaze snapped to their joined hands, then back to Jade's eyes, wide with surprise, perhaps even a flash of fear. This was uncharted territory for her. Jade leaned forward, her voice a low, fierce whisper that was just for Vera, for this quiet booth, for the ghost of their past and the promise of their future. "You taught me how to submit," Jade said, her thumb tracing the line of Vera's palm, a private caress. "You taught me the ecstasy of surrender, the power in giving myself over completely. You showed me a part of myself I never knew existed." Vera's grip tightened, an almost imperceptible squeeze. Her eyes were fixed on Jade, vulnerable, waiting. "Now," Jade continued, her voice deepening, her gaze unwavering, pulling Vera into her orbit with a magnetic force, "let me teach you how to stay." The words hung in the air, weighted with desire and a new kind of dominance. The dominance of offering a home, a shelter, a place where the powerful could finally rest. Vera's lips parted. A soft, breathless sound escaped her. Her eyes glistened, tears welling unbidden. Her guard, so long impenetrable, finally shattered. Without a word, she leaned across the table, closing the remaining distance. Breathy kisses, tasting of scotch and longing, sealed the unspoken promise. A fragile new tether, woven from trust and vulnerability, began to unfurl, silently rewriting the rules, crafting the beginning of something real, something infinitely more profound than any contract could ever define.